ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Guess the ELO. No, that's the guy I stole it from series. Guess the WN8, where my viewers submit games to me and I have to give them guess their stats based on nothing but their gameplay. If I get within 250 of their WN8 or 2% of their wins, I win! Huzzah! Go me! Yeah, I'll keep that in. I said in the first episode I stole this from Gotham Chess because I thought it was a good idea and I enjoy the content. Anyway, this is a paid replay. Thank you very much. You want to find out more about how to submit, you can look in the description. If you do a paid submission, it is guaranteed to appear in an episode. So, that's nice. Now. 1,600 hit points here. Isn't the base 1,550? Isn't it? Yes, indeed. So probably 50 more hit points from field mods, no doubt. Working with bounty events, bond glamour, and bond optics. Interestingly enough, the T32 has gone through at least a couple of changes in its time. And one of them took the stellar view range of 400 meters and put it down to 390. So there you go. Now, I immediately... I immediately have questions. Where are your HE shells and where are you going? You are top tier! You are top tier in a T32 on Prokhorovka! Are you role-playing as a feckin' Borsig? Oh no! Where are we going? Why are we not... You should be magnetized to ridge lines in this tank. T29, T32, T... Oh my god. Well, that guy's dead. What does that tell us? What does that tell us? Doesn't SU-130 get spotted moving there by much? No, not an awful lot. SB-1C, ELC even not. It tells us there's forward presence. Judging by the fact that the XM-57 killed him, and the XM is in a platoon with a Scorpion and a Belask, it could be viable that the Belask is doing forward scouting, given that he's platooned with 2 TDs. So, think about it. Look at who's dying and who's getting shot around you and try and make conclusions. Skoda at H1 is being spotted. We're getting more and more reasons now not to have a T-32 camping at the back here. Although, we might end up being grateful for it if it can somehow get holed out, and I don't know. One thing we do know is that the presence, based on the fact that Skoda has been spotted at some point, the presence is probably lower down in this area as opposed to in E1, although there may be some overlapping presence there nonetheless. Oh, and T32, this guy in check does call out ELC in the bushes. Not exactly winning any awards for logic, but I like the fact that we know, and we like the fact that we're communicating that to the team, even if they should know it already. So, of course, I complain about the positioning, and it's all prioritization, lovely, 1.9 seconds aim time. That is lovely. It's a lovely kill to pick up. Not sure who spotted him, maybe the Squall, but either way, fantastic stuff. I complain about positioning because there are few less optimal places to play the T-32. You could have taken it to the hill, you could have taken it to the mid, you could have been playing F2, F3. There's no arty. Like, if there was, like, 3 tier 8 arty in the game, like, I might understand. I might understand, I don't want to present on a ridge line, use my 10 degrees of gun depression, use my 298 millimeters of frontal jacket armor, because I know that I'll just get spotted and pounded to death by arty. There's no arty. There's no excuse. There's no reason to not be here. Ridge lines! Ridge lines! Acquire the ridge lines! Hug the ridge lines! Use the ridge lanes. It's what American heavy tanks do. Fun fact for you, if I fast forward your gameplay, you're bad. Not always the case, working with 0.38 accuracy here, combined with that 1.9 second aim time, 218 base pan on the IP, looked like a fair shot there, and 252 with premium. And yes, the HE is bad, it only has 53mm of pen. But you want to take at least some HE, purely, right? Purely for resets, for killing stuff that's on like 1 HP or something like that. There's no reason on the T-32 to not take 3 or 4 HE shells. It really isn't. You're gonna find yourself stuffed in situations where I wish I had an HE to reset this cap or finish off this particular tank. So what should you be doing right now? Well, there's multiple. Well, I'll say there's multiple. There's breaks in this game right now. Like, I don't understand, because the T-32 in this position has 0 recourse against an SP-1C. Squall's died up. Oh, the Blesk has died out of their head. The Squall's close to being dead. Like, if a Belask with a CVS who appears to be on the hill for whatever reason, but as an example, if a Belask or an SP-1C started coming up here, particularly the Belask, because it can use a CVS, but if it came out here, you have no recourse. What are you going to do? Outspot the Belask? No, you're not. You're going to get spotted and you're going to get killed by TDs before you can do anything. Like, you are giving yourself to the enemy team that has a potential pinata for them to beat with a big stick. Right? So, what should you do? Well, at this point, you can just do a full relocation, go along there. Go low. Enable your hill. Your team are stuck on the hill right now. If you push up there and put some pressure on these guys, you potentially get an over push on the hill. Or you just relocate, go straight over the hill. You break. Oh, and side target maybe. Switching intuition to premium there. Looks like there's a bit of a hole in the gun outlet of the XM. It's questionable to me. I mean, of all the things that could be pushing, the XM is probably the best armored. And we are reversing behind. That's a connection aimed for the WZ behind you, I think. Unfortunate. But XM does go down, and the enemy are pushing one by one. Where's the SP-1C? Not seen any presence from him thus far. Now, coming up here to make sure that we're hold down behind this Blesk is a good play, to be sure. Squall gets himself killed by the fortified TP on the mid. And now we're pushing behind the leg. Now we get spotted. What can that tell us? Well, we got spotted as soon as we kind of broke cover of these bushes, which tells us that the spot likely comes from the left, and we're probably looking at presence in E1, most likely from the SP-1C. Doesn't really impact our gameplay here, but I mean, we're going to be relatively safe here. There's not a huge amount that the enemy can do, but I'd be trying to push this rack a little further down, right, so that we don't catch side shots from presence in the mid, like this T26E5. So just a little lower here would be optimal, in my opinion, for pushing this. A respot, which potentially... So there's a couple of options here. The most likely is that the SP-1C is down low and potentially running away or moving back through these bushes as you move up. The other option is that he's very high at E1. And that is because there's this little bit of foliage here, which blocks vision in the area that he was just progressing through. So it's entirely possible, if the SP-1C was right at the top here, that this foliage was blocking his vision. So if we go with that conclusion, I would restrict any blind fires I do to that position to the top, right here. Because I know that's when he is, based on where the Sixth Sense went off again. So those are the two options worth keeping in mind. We do still think we have presence above. Wow! Wow! That's, really? Wow, okay. Would not expect that. And there's the fire from the mid. Still a little worried about it. We are perma-spotted here. We're getting shot at. Our Sixth Sense hasn't gone off. So what do we know? At this point, we know that the SP1C is sat literally right there. There's almost no other combination of spots that makes sense. So I'd be pinging there, telling my TDs behind me, hey, have a blind fire. And I like the gun locked up. Gun counts as an external module, so raising it in front of weak spots like your cupola can and will block shots, as we can see. Right? His gun has already been damaged because it was impacted by a shell aiming at the cupola. It's good practice. Right, the SP1C is still above you at E1 for my money. But, I mean, let's just keep going. There's no arty. This is one of the dumbest ways to play Parkorovka I've ever seen, but it's smart in its dumbitude. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Again, we want to be a little worried about going high here, right? Just try and keep as low as we can. We've already taken one shot in the side. Yeah, left, further left. It's a good lag. Keep it low. Patriot in the mid is still unaccounted for. 230 base pen on the Patriot with APCR. Now we know we are permanently spotted. Our Sixth Sense is not going off. I mean, we assume we are. If that SP1C is not at E1, I would be very, very surprised. Very surprised indeed. I don't know what to say about this game, dude. This is so dumb. I mean, it's odd because it made the best out of a bad situation, but the thing is, and let's point out that we eventually did get killed by a Scorpion from the mid, which is why I talked about lowering and going in this land. When you attack up 1-2 line, if you know that you're going to be spotted and you're going to be engaging, or you're moving behind slow cover like that, you're pushing off, pushing a mouse or something like that, then you want to push in as low a ground as you can if there's active presence in the mid. Nomad not coming closer. Yes, you are right. That Nomad would have been out of render distance of anything that the T-32 spotted, and he definitely should have been trying to move up. But you've got to remember that we think E1 is occupied. Right? We think that E1 is occupied by a... How long has the SP1C been dead? How long has he been dead? Where? Where did he die? A minute ago? He appeared at E2? Wow, so I guess he was... I thought it was by far the least likely option. I guess he was just going up there, slipped into the dip, let the T-32 pass, and then tried to get back in. Wow, okay. Well, let's see how this game concludes. Don't care, save my marks. Got 3k combined on this shit map. This just in, Prokhorovka is a shit map for a T-32 top tier with no arty. Well, I've learned something today. I am always very unhappy when I get top tier in a T32 on Poker with no arty. There's just nothing that you could do. You definitely couldn't, work like a god on the ridge line, or go to hill, or push after you see ignition on the hill, or use any of the literal ridge lines that make up basically the entirety of this map. Oh my god, you're bad. Oh! Okay, can't be too mean. I love the fact that people pay me to do this. To my defense, I've been grinding marks for 7+ hours during December matchmaking, and my decision making was not at its finest. Not at its finest? My man, you're in a T32. How do you start out at J2? Like, what was I'm very curious as to what the thinking was. What was the logic? Were you just, okay, I need marks. I'm just gonna stay alive as long as I can and get damage? Was that the only thing that you were thinking? Brain was mush. Had a lot of games in a row where the team died in 2 minutes, so just wanted to survive. Right, gotcha. Oh, no. But, I'm sure you'll agree, the best play, there were no arty. There was basically nothing that could have threatened you occupying the ridge lines in the middle, poking up here, or even going hill. Like, it was just such passive play. Such passive play. I can sympathize somewhat with the agony that comes with trying to mark tanks, but there was so much more you could have done in this game. So much more. It's interesting because there were moments in the game. Like, there was a loud and blind fire in there. There was cupola blocking, which bad players don't tend to do. The fact that you raised your gun to block the cupola shot after you got hit with it, like, that to me is indicative of someone who's not terrible, at least has some kind of awareness of game mechanics and how they work and yada yada yada. But I feel like, it's very average. Like, even, I don't think, like, Tommy at his tiltiest would play a T32 at J2 for marks. If I remember correctly, I was eating at the first minutes of the battle. Okay, so you were cosplaying an arty player. Alright. Did you have any logic or any reasoning for not relocating and pushing hill? You had a clear advantage on hill for like 4 minutes. Like, I would have relocated top speed at, 34 on the T32? Relocate across and either push low or just push hill. The enemy had like 2 tanks here, and apparently a Barask as well. Going 1-2 on this map is statistically proven to yield a higher result with less risk, which is my reason for going 1-2. It's less risky to go to the 1-2 line with a Barask platooned with 2 Tier 8 TDs, an ELC even 90, and an SP1C. You feel safer on the 1-2 line than on a ridge line. It's going down. Okay, how sympathetic can I be of someone playing for 7 hours and trying to mark a tank and getting bad teams? I get it. We've all been there. I want to go. I'm going to go like how many 49% players try to mark? Like, is that a thing? Chat, a lot of you suck. Do you care about marks? Like, if you're an average player, you just play for fun? Like, do Do you care about marking? Is it something you go for? I mean, I guess it's not an exclusive club. Like, people who play for fun can like to get their marks as well, but just seems odd. Sometimes care about marks on favourite tanks. Something to aim for on specific tanks. Okay. Maybe it's just I'm very sort of against marking, primarily because my style of gameplay is basically the exact opposite. Like, it's not damage orientated, whereas marking tanks is predicated on the amount of damage and spotting that you would do. I'm gonna ignore the context, and I'm just gonna pull from my instincts based entirely on the gameplay. No context whatsoever. Gameplay-wise, I feel like it's like 48. If I had no context whatsoever, my instinct would be 48. Or I'm gonna go 49. I'll go 49.32. And for WN8, passive plays trying to mark, but he's not very good at it. And this is coming from someone who's terrible at marking. Should we just go 1,000? I'll go 1,058. I don't know, what would make me cry? What stats here would make me cry? I think 50, anything above like 54, I will burst into tears. Like, that's the ballpark, is, if you got 54 or above % wins, I'm going to be thoroughly emotionally torn asunder. So my guess, 49.32 and 1,058 WN8. You know those times where you're like, hey Steve, if you overact for comedy, you'll probably have a seizure because you're cutting weight at the moment, and then you're like, you know what, it's worth it, and it's not. Oh Lord. Okay, wow, 10k games? Is that not a re-roll account? Like 10k games and you get to 55% wins? That's close to like re-roll account territory, like someone who's been playing on console or another account before. I played on NA for 30k battles. Ooh, okay. That explains it somewhat. That makes more sense. Would I have ever guessed that, even with full context? No, I would not. I guess it just goes to show, eventually, 55% players can play like 49% players if they get enough bad teams. I owe this fine person some gold. Let me... Okay, ladies and gentlemen, second replay of the day in a Contradictor, a tank I have shockingly little experience in. Only 2 HE shells. We were talking about this when doing the review. Only 2 HE shells. You get 80 shells in this tank. You can afford to take a bit more HE. 360 alpha? Oh yeah. So we're obviously working with some combination of field mods and improved hardening here, basic points 1,500, but we're walking around with 1,690, feeling rather chunky, and we got 10 degrees of gun depression, right? And that is all the way around the vehicle. It has 10 degrees over the booty as well, which is novel. And of course, Contradictor, so I'm just looking at it here, getting up to 40. We know it has a turbocharger because its top speed is, I think, 34. Let me just check that so I'm not spouting bullshit. 36, of course, yes. Okay, so 36 forward, benefited here by the turbo, no doubt. And the speed is interesting because with this tank, when you are in double shot mode, it slows down to a top speed of like 20. Somewhere around there. And now we're in double shot mode, having a pot shot blind at the squall there. Interesting. I like the ambition. And now we're loading one HE shell? Wait. Oh, are we doing the reload glitch? Is that a thing? On the move accuracy, 0.36 at 100 meters. And then a 2.2 second aiming time. Oh, and dead center of the cupola. Oh, and we went for the double on that. Interesting. Oh, we are doing the reload glitch. Okay, this is someone who's aware of the glitch that was introduced with these double shot tanks. And I'm sure chat will be kind enough to explain it for you, because I never used it and don't know much about it, but there was a glitch that basically hugely upped the reload or the accuracy of... It did something to make the tank a lot better than it should be. So this is someone who's aware of that, or runs in circles with people who were aware and told him, so probably up in the stats just by the sort of circle of friends or the networking that has been established for this guy. Our poking hit that, and that Tiger is not having a good time whatsoever. It ups both in reload and accuracy. My goodness. I'm glad I never used it. Wargaming would be so mad. And I make them mad enough anyway, so it's fine. It's patched though. Yes, now it is patched. Thank the Lord. Oh, and a bit of cupola blocking there. We're trying to conceal your cupola. Elevating your gun like that reduces the height of the cupola, as well as obviously raising the gun in front of the cupola itself and trying to block it with that external module. Now, what's interesting to me about this game is the lack of mobility present on the enemy team. If we look at the enemy team, like, very few of their team have a speed limit above sort of 35. And that's pushing it for a lot of them. So there's a lot of stagnancy here, which means not a lot of pressure. Not a lot of stuff is going to be happening around the map. We can just slowly sort of push and work our way in. Aiming above the tracks on the side of the Nurgle there. The Nurgle will eat some pretty ridiculous shells if you don't respect its odd track layout. But certainly pushing out on an angle here, the lower plate of this thing... God damn! The lower plate of this thing, he's done 5,000 damage. It feels so odd just because he's double shotting basically every shot. Wow! That should have been a pen and a kill. No, absolutely. But yeah, the lower plate of this thing is about, what was it, 200 on flat? But on an angle, it goes up to sort of 240 plus. That's ridiculous. So what we're seeing here is the double shot with the accuracy of a single shot. Yes? I'm assuming that's what we're doing, because the rate that he's hitting these shots is unholy. Okay. Alright, so this is what I missed out on by being a good boy. Gotcha. That was the exploit. Oh, dear Lord. Well, it's awful. Okay. Missing the cupola, unfortunately, but only went single shot, I think. Oh, and that XM target, I think, getting him trolled by the gun. May he rest in peace, should be a solid lower plate shot. Yes, indeed. Okay. And now we're positioned to move on and get a... Oh, no. Okay. Didn't get good accuracy on that one. See, I'm a bit miffed here because I don't know how the accuracy bug works. So I'm kind of not knowing what I'm going to expect. Oh, my God. This is unholy. The switch is to HE and back to APCR. Yeah, we know the exploit is being used. I just wasn't aware of just how feckin' unholy it was. Like, I thought it was just it made you reload a little quicker in certain circumstances or something. T-34 there is a lot easier to deal with hold down than a T-32 because the T-32 has 76mm on the roof, whereas... Oh, might be dead here. Ooh. Whereas the T-34 has an overmatchable point on the roof. You press to switch the mode and hold the fire button. You get the same accuracy as the single shot was. Oh, Lord. Oh, dear me. It's... Ooh, that's a solid blind. This guy's undoubtedly a good player, from what I'm seeing. Even though we are using an exploit here, this tank is performing way above what it was meant to, particularly with these double shots. He's certainly a good player based on what I'm seeing. It's worth noting as well, there's always an argument, and I think it's primarily with sort of maybe middle of the road players, or mediocre to good players, sort of 52% to 54, somewhere around there. There's an argument, do I press the attack or do I fall back to defend? My logic has always been, generally speaking, like 60-40, it is better to go back to defend. And the reason for that is because if you go back to defend and you're not needed, the game goes on. And you can push out of your base, which is generally a strong, fortifiable position, and continue the attack, right? Or continue the game. If you keep pushing, and it turns out you are needed in the defense, then the game's over, right? So, generally speaking, unless there's profound reason to do so, I will always opt for going back to defend a base, as opposed to pursuing an attack that I've been a part of. Not always the case. There are times where it is pertinent to pressure that attack if you have a decent defense or you think that you can cap the enemy base before they cap yours, but it's just a general logical principle that I go by for a lot of my games. I want to see here, it's sat on 171 health, and this is something that I talk about in my guide for heavy tanks, that if I can remember, I will link in the description. If you do want to find it, you can just go to the Honest Gaming channel, type in the search, tips for heavy tanks, or heavy tank guide, something like that. And we talk about keeping your gun in the game. And this is sincerely important in literally every vehicle in the game. But I feel like it's... Like, you don't see a lot of people accidentally throwing away hit points in their TDs, right? Because it's much more often that you get someone sat at the back of the map not using their health. But in heavy tanks, it's very easy when you have a brawl of a fight, a back and forth fight like we had on the 1-2 line. And you give a lot and you take a lot. It's very easy to continue that aggression into the late game when it's no longer merited. Put yourself in a bad position and get yourself killed. Right? So it is it's indicative of a higher skill player that you can sort of compartmentalize different stages of the game into, okay, now it's my fight, I need to be aggressive, taking this health, taking this position. And then later just say, okay, I'm no longer in position to do that. I have to be in a position where I can provide support, where I can cover, where I can keep my gun in the game. So, certainly good stuff here. My question potentially would have been, I mean, it's so difficult. We've got to watch the VK and the Viperia. I think we're putting our eggs in that basket at this point. Ooh, and they have ran into contact. It does look like the Contradictor with the turbo is gonna undergo a relocation. A drag! 6 months in advance. God damn, dude, that's sexy. Thank you. How can I send a replay? You can send one via Discord for free, or if you want to have it guaranteed to be used, you can use, give me a second, do indulge me. I just copied the wrong link, so indulge me even further. This one! And any money players that are sent by that are guaranteed to be used, though they still go behind other paid donations, of course. Now, VK against the Line 40T. Now, I believe the Line has, well, I know it has 4 shells, 300 alpha damage per shell. Good positioning to go on low here, just to approach in somewhat concealment. But I believe it has 232 pens, so it's gonna be potentially difficult with that VK. The Viperian's taking a good position out wide to cover the VK, and we're sort of moving with a mobile multi-level engage here, and the 40T has taken the opportunity and does get the kill. Good play by the 40T. Came in out of line of fire of the Viperian. He could have optimized that play slightly by coming down here, as close to this central line as he could, still focusing and pouring fire into the VK, but the closer he gets to this land right here, the more in cover he is from this guy and from the Viperian as well. So he could have done that better, but it was most certainly the right play, taking the gun away from our allied vehicles here. Oh, an IS-3 gets into what at the moment appears to be a 1v1 with an IS-3, but oh, that's an unfortunate miss. Okay, and now I will say a million times, do not push the 8-9 line. Hello, Silk, my day's going fine. Do not push. God damn, subs! Thank you, Francis. Do not push the 9-0 line on this one. The advantages given to the northern base in this exact area of the map are abhorrent. I kid you not, they are unholy. The fact that someone can just sit in perfect cover out there, it is an automatic crossfire hold. Like, you put one person up there, you can have this high ground here, and it's so hard to push into. It is so hard. So I never recommend doing it. Is the enemy team going to get away with it? Potentially. But I've been reluctant. Well, that is lucky. I've been reluctant to do what this guy is doing right now and try and leave this position, because I know how strong it is to receive a push along here. Between the Vipera and the guy on the inside, it is incredibly hard to successfully push this area. Incredibly hard. What is good, because let's also remind ourselves that this Vipera has this bush. He can poke there, concealed, unspotted, and put out damage against people coming there. It is insanely powerful. Now, what is good play by this gentleman that we're watching is checking the high ground. Because that is one of the ways that you would try and disrupt this position, is by making this area obsolete. Right? And the way that you do that is by obtaining the high ground, right? Getting around to sort of these positions, coming up in these bushes. Obviously, then this position is not very useful at all. So, coming back here to get awareness of the high ground, I like. I did not like when it looked like he was going to leave this position, because, as I say, the strength of it is insane. So this I very much like. This I think is a really good play, because I guarantee you the enemy cannot push it. And the 40T goes for the isolated IS-3. And now this gentleman knows we are outnumbered, we want to be pressuring a bit, right? Trying to take damage, trying to take kills, not leaving guns on the field. And that's lovely. Ooh, 0.1 accuracy, taking that guy apart. And now, do you need to move? I don't like the fact that Vipera was moving at this point, though it is 1 minute and 30 seconds left, so there's not really time for tactics. It's going to be mostly a luck of the draw, he thinks. But this guy's got to remember that he's only got one APCR shell left. God damn, Dracaroni! What are you doing? I appreciate you. You are, however, subjecting my YouTube audience to have to listen to ding, ding, ding repeatedly instead of my commentary. But there you go. Okay, so contra toward the back of the map. You don't want people coming from all angles unexpectedly. Can he get this kill here? Very important to connect both these shells, but the 40T, who've been doing work this game, really good work by the 40T. He was in the, he was really important to that end game. Good play on the VK, then relocated to take an isolated tank, didn't push the 9-0 line. So this 40T had a head on his shoulders or just got lucky, but he went constantly for isolation. You see the play of that 40T. VK was isolated from his support by the way that the 40T came in, which was behind. We talked about how that play could have been optimized, but the idea is there. And then while his team were pushing there, he didn't push with them. He went for the isolated tank once again. It's good autoloader play. Right, we've got over 9,000 damage in a tier 8 heavy tank. Let's be clear, this is a tier 8 heavy tank that was, this was a player that was abusing a bug in the game. This tank now will not perform like this. Its double shots were way more accurate. I believe it reloaded way faster. So, you know, take this gameplay with a grain of salt. That said, there was a lot in this game that was indicative of a very good player. As I mentioned at the start, the fact that he's even aware of this glitch, I don't think this glitch would spread to people who are just playing casually and are not in some way involved or included in the community and consuming some manner of content from some of the larger creators, and that tends to make people better players over time. There was cupola blocking, there was cupola targeting, there was knowledge of reloads, there was knowledge of positioning, there was stagnancy that was merited, right? We didn't carry our aggression into the end game when it wasn't merited. I think probably my favourite play of the game is the relocation from mid all the way over to this final position to support the push that was present there. It's unfortunate to lose in the end, but the game was well played nonetheless. What am I thinking? Instinctually, I'm feeling like there wasn't an awful lot that could have been done better. Like, there's a range here, to be sure. I'm feeling like any lower than 57 would be inaccurate. It could well be somewhere around 58. I'm going to go 58.97, which could be the highest rating I've guessed so far. I'll go 58.97. It's 57.56, 2,963. Estimate 57.56, 2,963. Let's see. Ooh, a little less than I thought, but we're not that far away. I got within 2% of the wins, doing really well recently. There's a lot of promising gameplay principles within that gameplay for sure. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Okay, well, I got within 2% of the win, so I don't have to fork out gold. Yay! Look in the description for the next and previous episodes. You can find the playlist there as well as guides on how to submit, both for free and if you want to get your replay guaranteed to be used, you can do a paid submission as well. Worth noting that all of these episodes and everything I upload to YouTube is released early for channel members. So if you're interested in membership on YouTube, catching like loads of these episodes way earlier than they are otherwise released, then you can go and look at that. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.
Humanity peaks at our community manager. He is mentally jacked and strengthening our backs just like the counterweight on the turret of the challenger. Cause if we find ourselves in a crappy mood, you will brighten our day just through your attitude. Steven and Peabody, badass crew. So please take the song as a token of my gratitude.